So yeah, thanks for having me. And welcome to everyone who might be joining now. So yeah, as was just mentioned, we're here to talk a little bit about enhancing social listening with trusted AI. To bring this idea to life, we'll start by kind of framing the problem of distrusted AI as it currently stands, and get straight to how we actually achieve trusted AI using our platform, Conversus. So I'll take you guys through some slides and then get into an actual platform demo, show you a little bit of that, and then there should be some time for Q&A at the end. So it'll be the kind of flow here. A little bit about Conversus, the platform. I'll show it to you in a little bit, but it's an AI-powered natural language processing, or NLP platform. I'll just call it NLP going forward. Designed to really enhance your analysis of social listening data, media monitoring data, earned media data, unstructured text, voice of customer data, things like that. And again, a little bit about Conversion before I go in. So we really are, in our DNA, an AI-powered NLP company. We built our first AI NLP model back in 2008, a long time ago. And our mission is to apply that NLP to, unruly social listening data, messy social listening data, noisy social listening data, to more rapidly and scalably extract relevant insights, predictions, ultimately about business outcomes from that data. So we're taking you from unstructured data, unstructured conversations to smarter business decisions through, leading AI-powered NLP tech and solutions. And a quick note about me. No need to read the mountain of text there, but my name is Ben Sigerson. I'm the VP of Solutions at Conversion. I've been with Conversion for over a decade, I think close to 15 years now. In my current role, I sort of sit at the intersection of our tech and our clients' really specific strategic objectives, and my job is just to bridge the two in a way that ensures success. Okay, so with that housekeeping out of the way, let's get into it again. Trusted AI for social listening. Start. What do we mean by trusted AI? I sort of break it down into three components here. Starts with standards and guidelines. The trusted AI is built around a series of important criteria. Those include safety, accuracy, and reliability, which we'll talk a lot about today, transparency and accountability, human in the loop governance and oversight. These are all things that we're going to touch on a lot today. And acting those standards, right? That's the second part. That really requires tools and systems that mitigate the risks associated with AI. So tools and systems are what power the practical execution of standards and guidelines. There's been a lot of talk about standards and guidelines around AI for a long time, but without the right tools, your standards and guidelines are just going to remain abstract and pretty much meaningless to your end users, your AI users. And the exact nature of these standards, right, is going to, and the tools that enact them, is going to vary a lot depending on how AI is being used. There's a bajillion different use cases for AI. But today our focus is really on AI-powered NLP, as I alluded to earlier, specifically for classification and summarization in support of social listening and unstructured conversation data research in general, voice customer data, anything like that. So for example, if this isn't making sense to anyone, like a common basic type of classification would be something like sentiment analysis or voice segmentation, right? And we might use summarization to answer specific research questions about our classified data. So for example, we might look at positive or negative consumer-generated data and ask the generative AI a question like, what are the top drivers of satisfaction and dissatisfaction for my consumers or my customers? And our demo will be focused on a tool that provides transparent, accurate AI for exactly these types of use cases. And finally, just to get to the third part here, which I think is pretty important, I'll spend some time on. If we want to enact trusted AI for social listening, that means acknowledging the current status quo and that it needs to change. So we can sort of have a problem in social listening today where AI systems are in widespread use, but they don't make the grade when it comes to being sort of trustworthy. We'll get into why not in a bit, but practically speaking, for NLP, for classification, social listening, it really comes down to how your models are trained, they're validated, they're deployed, and they're maintained over time, all with the goal of, easily maximizing their effectiveness while minimizing bias and, mitigating risk. That's big definition for trusted AI. But moving forward, we can't really talk about trusted AI without acknowledging that there have been recent seismic shifts with respect to AI, specifically regarding those standards and guidelines, that first aspect of trusted AI. And to ensure that trusted AI is taken seriously, we're now seeing it get embedded into all kinds of new regulatory frameworks and laws. I'm sure a lot of people on the call will be thinking about the EU's AI Act, but things are happening in the US as well. So AI safety regulation is coming or is already here. And we're seeing some evidence of that effect here. And the quote I really liked from the EU AI Act gets right to the core of trusted AI, which is that it depends on good data governance. Good high-performing AI requires high-quality data. High-quality data depends on good data governance and management practices. So let's get into sort of where the rubber meets the road, the practical application of trusted AI for social listening, less abstract here. To kick things off, I like to throw out a few questions and considerations for people to think about, because these are very, I think, sort of a litmus test for your familiarity or your organization or your listening organization's familiarity with trusted AI and how well entrenched it is already. Questions are, where is AI being used in your tool stack today? How accurate are your AI models performing today on your data? How are you testing and scoring them? If you don't know, can your vendor, your provider, your listening vendor tell you? If you wanted, would you be able to participate in the training and testing of that AI? And finally, are you able to safely use LLMs, generative AI, to accelerate your insight extraction? These are all really, again, rubber meets the road, practical considerations for enacting trusted AI and social listening. And if your listening vendor can't answer them, in the near future, you're going to need internal or third-party methods for addressing these questions. So hopefully, that's sort of thought-provoking, help you frame your thinking about what trusted AI is practically for social listening. But what is it we're getting out of trusted AI, right? We're talking a lot about sort of medicine, risk mitigation, avoiding issues, not falling behind. But what are the tangible benefits of it? I think it's pretty simple. Trusted AI means you transparently know how accurate your AI is, right? So AI transparency leading to AI accuracy. And the benefits of that are you remove data quality doubt, right? Meaning you'll be able to trust in the correctness of the insights and findings you're getting out of social listening data. And you can easily communicate the trustworthiness of those insights to stakeholders in your organization. So, for example, I talk every day to customers who say, I don't even use sentiment analysis in my listening platform because it isn't worth the effort of trying to defend it when I present my insights. And it's a perfect example of how deeply rooted data quality doubt is in insights and analytics functions and social listening. But you should be able to use your sentiment analysis. It has the potential to answer very important and relevant questions about your brand, your customers, reputation. And with a well-functioning system for trusted AI, you can use your sentiment analysis without having to QA, which is really what we're moving towards today. But anyway, as a result of this trust in your research data, you'll be able to derive sharper, more relevant insights. It's that simple, right? Hard to imagine. It's really sort of this cloud nine state that we all imagine. But imagine if we could just switch on our listening environment, switch on our data feeds, and immediately trust the insights that we're automatically getting out of those unstructured listening feeds. That would mean, truly scalable, automated, accurate analysis. That's really what's the promise of and the value of trusted AI is. So that's a little bit on the value and benefits. Paint a picture of, I think, why it's great to have. To understand why it's a must-have, we have to go a little further and explore the problem that I alluded to earlier when I was talking about necessary change. There's a problem specific to the social listening industry that really needs a solution. And the problem is that data quality doubt is extremely widespread among users of social listening platforms. So even though all these platforms use AI, right? But it's important to recognize that today what we have in the industry it's not the absence of AI, it's distrusted AI. So it's actually kind of worse than the absence of AI. And that's been the case for, over a decade. And yet, although this has sort of been this elephant in the room for so long, no one's really doing anything about it. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Historically, the maintenance of these systems is just seen as too costly and difficult to implement. Nobody wants to do it. Vendors don't want to touch it. And it's much better to sort of leave it as a sort of set and forget it system that has various accuracy problems. And if you don't believe me, right, like, ask your listening platform users how much they trust their out-of-box sentiment analysis. They're going to tell you right away that data is messy. It requires lots of QA. At best, it's 50 to 60% accurate. So what's the result of all this, right? Is that customers are left in the dark on data quality. They don't trust the out-of-box NLP in their listening platforms. For decision makers, sort of rung up the ladder. They don't trust unstructured conversation data sometimes, or they see it as having limited business value. They look at those insights as having sort of an asterisk on them, can't trust them on their own. And if you're on the vendor side of the equation, there's this constant risk of churn, right? Your customers get fed up with the data quality, the poor output from the sentiment, et cetera. They move on to another platform. 6 to 9 to 12 months later, they repeat the same thing. It's just constant sort of churn, right? So how do we address this? We'll get kind of moving towards our demo here. To get serious about this, we need scalable, easy to use, trusted AI systems. And that starts with admitting that AI isn't magic. So conversation data is constantly changing. The performance of our AI-powered NLP is too. So set it and forget it does not work. So to create trusted AI-powered NLP for social listening data, that means we need AI performance assessment and maintenance as a service, right? Provided on an ongoing basis on client-specific data. And if we can do that, if we can successfully deliver on that, we will have really mitigated the core driver of data quality doubt and distrusted AI in social listening. So if we can remove data quality doubt, we'll be a big step closer to unlocking the benefits and value that I mentioned a few minutes ago, right? AI accuracy, delivering sharper insights faster, no need for QA or minimal need for QA, transparency that removes, keeps you sort of in compliance with safety regulations, enables you to understand how and why your AI is doing what it's doing, and enables you to communicate the trustworthiness of your insights to your stakeholders. So let's now get towards the demo here. So sort of set the stage on why trusted AI is so beneficial, and it's really a must-have for social listening. Big missing piece of the puzzle right now in the industry. For ensuring that your data is accurate enough to make business decisions from it, and that you're staying ahead of safety regulations. And the Conversus trusted AI system, which I'll show you in a moment, is the only tool that I'm aware of anyway in social listening that's designed to do exactly what we just talked about. It provides a fully automated, platform-supported method for telling you how accurate your AI-powered NLP is on your data specifically on an ongoing basis. It also enables customers to be hands-on in that process as much as they want. So users can be the human in the loop if they want. They can participate directly in the testing and retraining of their models. They have control over the AI they're using. And most importantly, I'll show you this in a moment. The system uses a variety of patent-pending algorithms that drastically reduce the time spent on the sort of costly manual aspect of this process of AI testing. And by doing that, this becomes sort of a first of its kind, really low effort data quality auditing system that it works at scale across big data sets. So let's see this in action on a real data set. As we've discussed, we're going to see, how this trusted AI system works on a social listening data and how it provides an accuracy assessment on your data specifically on an ongoing basis, thereby giving you this trusted and transparent AI. So I'm going to pop over to the platform and kind of demonstrate the functionality and walk you through a basic demo case here. So just bear with me a second. Okay, so this, the process here, right, it starts with, we're going to kind of walk through deployment of our AI models, sampling our data for a representative sense of it, testing based on the sample, and then getting a performance assessment out of that process, right? So it's really a classic fold-out testing system for any classification system, but optimized for social listing feeds and made easy to use on your data and on your social listing data. So again, that process starts with deployment in our platform. That process starts from the classification jobs page. Up over there now. As you can see here, we have a number of active classification jobs. Each one features user-selected AI models that are used to classify or categorize user-selected sets of data that are streaming in through queries. So we see there's a couple of, all these jobs here are pointed at either the Raiderly platform, since our Meltwater platform will or Brandwatch, another social listening platform, right? And in this demo case, we're going to look at one of these jobs in particular that's pointed at a Brandwatch set of data about airlines, United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, American Airlines. It's a bunch of U.S. Airlines. And I'll move through this pretty quickly. There's a lot happening in here, but in this middle box here, what we're doing is we're specifying these specific models, the AI-powered NLP models that we want to deploy to our social listening data. So I'll bring this up now. So we can see a range of models. We have an English language sentiment model, a number of industry-specific sentiment models that are an option to us, a bunch of other pre-trained or pre-built NLP models for voice of customer, trust, ESG, user attitude, right? Sort of like an emotion analysis, content type, performance voice segmentation. We have a sentiment LLM. So a number of these are state-of-the-art fine-tuned large language models for classification. So we've specified the models we want to use in this job. And through this trusted AI system, we're going to be able to understand the accuracy of any one of these models on this data specifically. So the next stage in this workflow, we're sending the results, the output classifications back to the listening platform, Brandwatch. And we're also configuring our auto sampler with this sampling box. And from this, we automatically select statistically representative samples of our AI model outputs at a user-specified cadence that could be weekly or monthly, in this case, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. And once collected, each sample is then used, as I mentioned earlier, downstream to test the AI model performance for the time period that it represents. And after testing, we can then optimize our models as needed. So we're ready to kick off this classification job. To do that, we simply click the Save button at lower right. And this job's been running for months already, so we've already collected some samples, some monthly samples that we can use to test our model performance. And to do that, we have to navigate from here to the reservoirs page. So I'm going to pop over there now. Okay, so we're looking at the reservoirs page, and here we see the samples that correspond to the classification job I just showed you. They're all called Airlines Reputation Intelligence. And we can see this top one. We're going to look at the top sample here, which is just collected in the last month, March 2024. So this sample is representative of all the data that came through that job in the last month. So if we want to understand the accuracy of the models in that job for that month, we have to look at this sample. To do that, we're going to click Review. And here we're going to select which model it is we want to test in the data. Right now, I'm going to look at the content type model here, which again does a sort of voice segmentation. So it segments our data by owned versus earned media. So basically tells us, which posts are earned media, which are organic, consumer generated, which are paid or owned promotional content. And again, it's a fine-tuned large language model for classification. So from this model review page, we can push a set of the sample data to our labeling interface, where we can then begin to label the data for ground truth, which is the basis for testing our models. So based on those human-supplied labels, the performance of the model is going to be evaluated dynamically in Conversus. And we can find our labeling, our sample in the labeling interface using this unique identifier right here. So I'm just going to copy that, pop over to the labeling interface, and search for that. And you can see here I've found my sample, 100 mentions. You can see I've already labeled about 40 rows. So I'm going to go in here and just label one post just to sort of demonstrate the process. So I'll look at this post. United Airlines discovers loose bolts on planes following Alaska Airlines incident. So I would say this is news, right? So I'm going to say that's news. I'm going to click submit. Okay. And then I can continue labeling if I want to, but I won't do that right now. So now I'm going to go back to my label, my model review page, and I'm going to look at the results and metrics tab. This is going to give me, again, that dynamically updating report card of the model's accuracy on this data. So go over here, I click new evaluation to just refresh based on the labeling I just did. And right away, we can see we've got a report card for the model's performance on this sample of data. So this report card has a bunch of key features that enable us to get a representative sense of the model's performance. First, we see the level that tells us that this assessment of the model's performance is 95% statistically confident, right? So it's a very high confidence estimate of the model's performance. And second, we have a patent pending algorithm that's computed these performance scores based on a very, very small set of human labeled posts. So if we look at the evaluated rows, we can see I only labeled 42 rows, about 40 posts to get to a really confident assessment of the model's performance. And based on those 42 rows, I know the model's accuracy is somewhere between 93 and 100%, a 7-point range. If I label more test data, that range is going to shrink as the assessment gets more confident. But the bottom line is that minimum value, right, is good enough. This 93%, that's very good, right? So we already know that the model's at least that good. And again, we were able to get to this assessment based on just a handful of posts, a little over 40. And that minimal requirement of human labeled data is really what makes this whole workflow scalable, right? Makes it sustainable. So we can repeat this process across many models on an ongoing basis because we don't need to label a ton of data to get to a really high confidence assessment of the model's performance, month over month. It's also very easy for clients to be the human in the loop here and to participate in this process, right? They can be the ones who label that ground truth data to understand how accurate the AI model is. So that the confident sense of the AI model's performance is really what we mean by trusted AI here for social listening. I can trust this content type model to accurately classify my social listening data. And that means I can use it to answer, any business questions my stakeholders might have about earned campaign impact, about consumer behavior, and a range of other insights use cases. And I can do all that without having to spend time on QA and data cleaning. I can just use this model out of box because I know it's got that stamp of approval through this process, and I know that it's highly accurate. I can move straight on to reporting and really bypass QA completely. So that's really the trusted AI system in action. And it's when we consider, research and reporting based on this data, that the implications of this system for generative AI, so for summarization and automated insight generation, those become clear. And so I'll move on to that next here. So with just a final point here, and then I'll wrap things up. I just want to consider a real world example here where we've collected a raw social listening feed about a QSR company, so a major US fast food company. And we're using the system I just demoed for you to apply our trusted AI classification to that feed of data to identify with a very high degree of accuracy the posts that are about ESG, specifically like governance and workforce related issues. And next, we want to understand the top issues that are associated with governance for that fast food company. So we're using unsupervised topic clustering. Again, nothing super groundbreaking there. Clustering's been around for a long time. But that clustering will sort of group or cluster our listening data into related subsets of data. But it doesn't tell us, right, what those subsets are about, really. We need to do some manual exploration of those clusters and interpret the results to understand. And that process can take hours, really, right? So there's some loss of efficiency there. And if we look at the lower left, we can see the actual manually assigned topic names that a human analyst came up with for this set of data. The names are brief. They don't have summaries attached to them. And we can see actually in one case for topic number 2 there that the user was unable to come up with a name for this cluster. So they just labeled it miscellaneous, right? But now using generative AI that's just became available in the last year and a half, we can do summarization that'll automatically assign both names and in-depth summaries to all these topic clusters. And we can do that not in hours, but in just minutes, right? So replacing that hours-long manual interpretation process with an automated summarization that took minutes. And in summary, we can now use the generative AI to take a stab at generating insights for us, right? We can trust that the potential hallucinations of the AI would be mitigated by the accurate data that we've used to augment the generative AI's understanding of our research questions and of our data. So in other words, simplify that, we're using classification AI to make generative AI more reliable and trustworthy. And it's really the combination of the two, accurate classification followed by summarization, that's extremely powerful and promising for social listening and insights. And that's really holds the key, I think, to automating and streamlining an enormous amount of the work that we do as insights professionals in social listening. So that's really all I've got for you today. I powered through that pretty quickly, but just in conclusion, I just want to highlight a few key points. Number one is that data quality doubt is endemic in social listening. It's It's been around for a long time. It's just sort of the status quo. Most people don't even question it because it's always been that way. And black box, set it and forget it NLP is a big part of that problem. It contributes directly to that distrust in AI, that distrust in data quality. And importantly, AI alone, so no matter how exciting or new or cutting edge, is not going to magically fix this problem. So if somebody comes to you and says, like, I've new out-of-box AI solution for you, like, it's not going to solve the problem of data quality doubt, because without having some system of transparency. Brings us to the second point, which is to fix this problem, to remove data quality doubt, we need to stay compliant with future AI safety standards. All AI, no matter how sophisticated, needs to be complemented with ongoing testing and optimization. That's a must-have. And finally, the Conversus platform's trusted AI system, which I showed for you today, is designed to solve this problem in a really scalable and easy-to-use way. It tells you how accurate your AI is on your data specifically on an ongoing basis. And only with tools like that can we mitigate the root cause drivers of AI distrust and move beyond primarily manual insights approaches and achieve really automated, trusted AI-powered NLP. And just final thought here, to push for this level of service across the listening space, it requires a mindset shift, right? So buyers should start to expect this from social listening vendors and the NLP that they provide via their platforms. And to ensure that level of service, that means, making demands of the vendors, right? The important question when you're making those demands isn't, are you using AI? Because everyone's using AI. The important question is, it should really be a part of every RFP for social listening platform. Those questions are, how are you training your AI? How are you ensuring AI accuracy on your data specifically? How are you enabling me to participate in that training process, to be the human in the loop? How are you empowering me to be in control of the AI that I'm using in an easy to use way? So that's all.
I can tell you to as I work with many to support many RFPs, I think that those are a pretty advanced question, and even some vendors who went through the trial and tribulation you described to switch vendors a few times, and who know the ecosystem and who know their way around the software. I'm not sure many of them have yet the maturity to ask those specific questions about algorithm training and so on, because most of the time they, I think that, they are marketers, they are not expert in tech. So there could be some...
Absolutely. There's definitely a disconnect there, the sort of data science comfortability. And, what we're trying to do with our platform, Conversus, is to make the process of getting that accuracy number and that process of assessing your accuracy as, no code and sort of easy to understand as possible. Everything I showed you today is very much sort of the back end setup process, right? But setting all that up takes minutes, right? Provided we're working with a listening platform that we have an integration with. We integrate with a number of platforms. So we can basically provide this sort of AI auditing system that runs in the background on any social listening user's data feeds. And anyone can understand accuracy, right? Even if they're not a data scientist, we can understand, right? If something's 80% accurate, that means 8 out of 10 times the sentiment was correct, right? That's understanding that alone is enough to start making some demands of our vendors, right? How accurate is the NLP? Do you have a way of understanding how accurate it is on my data specifically?
Quick question from the audience. Does your software work only with social listening data or also with other sources?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, it's always like one of the first that comes up. It's very much like platform agnostic. We integrate with a bunch of different platforms. We also work with any text data. What I showed you today was one particular workflow that works on an integration with a listening platform. The same thing can be done on a database integration, a cloud-based data storage like S3 or Azure. It can be done with CSV or Excel files. It's very flexible.
There was about another question about verticals. As you know, different verticals can use, I will say, different language. For some verticals, saying something is terrible could be positive, or in other cases, it could be negative. Do you have any specific training to, adapt your NLP and models per verticals?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a library of pre-built NLP models for sentiment, voice segmentation, things like ESG, trust, and they are tuned to specific industries. So there'd be like a different model for automotive versus like B2B technology versus fast food. Um, uh, we have a lot of experience related to this in both B2B and B2C. So the system works with both types of data. Also, I would say that, I think increasingly the sort of industry specific approach is becoming outmoded. And that what we're seeing happen with these large language models is that they're so good at classifying if you train them correctly. And that is the really important point. You have to use very high quality training data on these. You can't just use an open source LLM or even one that's a closed source one. You can't just use it out of box. But if you fine tune it with very carefully labeled and curated data, you can get models that generalize extremely well across different verticals. For example, that content type model I showed you, that was on airlines data. I used the same model on B2B tech data, on B2C, like consumer electronics or fast food data. Then it has very similar level of performance across all those data sets. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's one of your first webinars for the European markets. Do you have any specific use case with either French or European clients that you can disclose?
I mean, we do a lot of work with like EMEA. We do a lot of work in Arabic, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian. We have models that are pre-built in support of those languages. In some cases, we need to build something custom for a client, but we have pretty rapid ways of doing that. I worked with, a lot of different across a lot of different verticals: energy, ride sharing, airlines, technology. Yeah, the list goes on. A lot of experience across.
Perfect. So yeah, we are looking forward to see more of conversation in Europe in the next week. So thank you, Ben, for this presentation.